Hey folks, Jim Fortin here, MindAuthorityNetwork.com. In this short video, you're going to discover the easiest way to crack open your client's thinking and get them to say yes. Now the shocking thing, the amazing thing is what you're about to learn here, a very small percentage of the selling population knows. I've taught this information for many years to thousands of selling professionals, and I can confidently say about 1% of selling professionals even approach selling in the way that you're going to start learning right here in this quick video. Let me ask you before we get started, have you ever wondered, how often have you said to yourself and ask yourself, why do my clients say yes to other people, yet I've got better products and services? Have you ever wondered why your clients sometimes say yes and then they don't act? They sit on the fence, they drag their feet, they say yes and they wait forever to make a decision, or they say yes and they don't follow through on their decision. How often have you had that happen to you? Also, have you ever wondered why sometimes you just can't get into a rhythm with your prospect and your client? Something always seems to be off and you just can't put your finger on it and you can't figure out what you've got to say or what you've got to do to persuade and influence them to say yes. And finally, and specifically, have you truly wanted to know exactly what your prospects are thinking and how to sell them? Now, if you're like most selling professionals, you're going to say, well, Jim, of course, I want to know exactly what my prospects are thinking. Yet, I have found over the years, very few selling professionals actually know, again, what you're learning here, or have even invested the time to learn and understand what unconsciously, I'll say that again, what unconsciously motivates their prospects and clients to buy. Well, you're about to learn in this very quick video, you're about to start learning and you're about to finally understand how your prospects think. Now notice I didn't say what your prospects and clients think, I said how. Because here's the magic key. When you know how people think, it's then easy to influence what they think. And you'll discover that in just a moment. Now, again, I said it's shocking, yet less than 1% of selling professionals understand, again, what you're learning here on this video. You see, research has demonstrated that up to 95% of all buying decisions are unconsciously made. I'll say that again, and I want you to actually fix that in your mind and maybe even write it out. Up to 95% of all buying decisions are unconsciously made. Alex Peugeot, Associate Professor of Brain and Cognitive Sciences, University of Rochester. Most of the decisions you make aren't based on conscious reasoning. Folks, consider that. What does that mean? Most of the decisions you make aren't based on conscious reasoning. What does that mean to you as a selling professional? What does that mean to you when you're trying to get your prospect and client to say yes to you? Well, basically what that means is, very simply, getting them to say yes is understanding how they think, which again I've said up to 95% of all buying decisions are unconsciously made. So to get people to say yes to you, you've got to understand how they think, how they process unconsciously. Because when you understand that, it's then a very easy matter, as you're going to discover, to get them from no to yes. Okay, so what we're talking about, when I talk about the unconscious part of it, we're talking about brain language. So here, very quickly, let me show you how the brain works. In just a moment, I'm going to put an image up here on the screen, and when I do, I want you to say the color of the word as fast as you can. Now, you might have seen this before. It's circulated around the internet. It's called the Stroop effect, S-T-R-O-O-P, the Stroop effect. And what this is clearly going to demonstrate to you is that your prospect and client, when you're doing your presentation, they are actually processing your presentation in two ways, left brain and right brain. Now we'll put that aside, we'll come right back to that, but for now, focus on the screen. And again, when I put this image up here, I want you to say the color of the word as fast as you can, beginning now. So top left-hand side, what color is that word? In the middle top, what color is that word? On the right-hand side top, what color is that word? Over to the left-hand side, second column, what color is that word? And so on. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Now, if you're like most people, what happened is you got tripped up very quickly. You saw the first word and you might have thought blue. Well, the first word, the word is blue, but the color is red. So what's happening here? Well, what's happening is the left-hand side of the brain, the analytical side of the brain, is trying to analytically read the word blue, B-L-U-E, while the right-hand side of the brain, the non-analytical, illogical side of the brain, the side of the brain that buys, is trying to read the color red. So it's obvious. You've got two sides of the brain, left-hand side of the brain, right-hand side of the brain. Though we're obviously looking at that, one side of the brain is trying to do one thing, and the other side of the brain is trying to do something else. So again, when I said it's obvious, my thought was when you're sitting across from someone, they are processing you in two separate ways, both analytically and consciously, and non-analytically and unconsciously. Now remember back, I said that research demonstrates that up to 95% of all buying decisions are unconsciously made. So what this means for you is this. Your brain first reads and buys unconsciously before consciously. Now when we started this video, I said the easiest way to get your prospect and client to yes. Well, the easiest way to get them to yes is, again, to understand how they process unconsciously, which we'll look at here in just a moment. Okay, to give you a very quick example here of how the left brain works and how the right side of the brain works, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a word here on the screen, lemon, L-E-M-O-N. Now what's happening is the left-hand side of the brain, the analytical side of the brain, is reading this and says, okay, lemon. Now let's talk to the right-hand side of your brain, and we're going to put this here, a lemon. Now looking at the screen here, let me ask you, which one can you grasp right away? Which one makes more sense to you? Which one can you feel? Which one actually could you almost reach out and touch? Well, obviously it's the right-hand side. It's the actual imagery. It's the actual picture of a lemon. So now, if I were selling you, what most people do, metaphorically, is they try to sell L-E-M-O-N, which is the word lemon, whereas what you now want to begin doing is you want to sell the right-hand side, the visual part of it, the part that excites and the part that engages the imagination. So the question for you on this slide is this. How do you engage the brain of your prospects and your clients? I'll ask again, and I want you to fully consider this. How do you engage the brain of your prospects and your clients? Okay, so let's talk about neuropersuasion, or what I call brain persuasion, meaning understanding how your prospect and client thinks. Let's look at the brain here very quickly. Two sides of the brain, left-hand side and right-hand side. Very different responsibilities and also very different functions in the buying process. Left-hand side of the brain is the seat of the conscious mind. It's analytical, it's rational, it's the seat of short-term memory. Left-hand side of the brain is all about linear thinking, which is content. Left-hand side of the brain processes linear things like time and language. And the left-hand side of the brain is all about what people think. Now, what people think when it comes to sales is features and benefits, which is reasons, rationality, numbers, and statistics. Again, all the analytical things. Also, I want you to notice here that the left-hand side of the brain is only responsible for 5% of mental function. Most mental function happens on the right-hand side of the brain, which is also the seat of the unconscious mind. Now remember back when I started this video, I said that research has demonstrated that up to 95% of all buying decisions are unconsciously made. So, if you're caught on selling features and benefits, rationality, numbers, and I have people in many technical careers say, but yes, Jim, we have a very technical sell. Well, I don't care, because people do not buy features and benefits, because all features and benefits must be processed right brain unconsciously first. Here, I'll show you what I mean. Right-hand side of the brain is the seat of the unconscious mind. It's non-analytical, completely irrational. This is why we buy things and later we're like, why did I buy this? It's because we became emotionally engaged. Now I know some people right there are going to say, oh Jim, I know that. You got to move the emotions. Yet stay with me, because I'm going to show you something. I'm going to ask you a question here in just a moment that's very important. Right-hand side of the brain is the seat of long-term memory. Right-hand side of the brain is all about process. And process is how people think. Now, think back to when we started. I said when you know how people think, you can then influence what they think. Right-hand side of the brain is responsible for 95% of mental function. Obviously, 95% right side of the brain, 5%, which is the left analytical brain, makes up 100% of thinking. Well, folks, it's obvious. To move your prospects and clients, to get them to say yes to you very easily, you have to actually understand how they process. Now, a while ago I said people do not buy features and benefits. This is what they buy. People buy how they process features and benefits. So what do I mean by that? Here, let me show you. Okay, so the easiest way to crack open your client's thinking is to know how they think, how they process. Now, what does that mean? Well, simply, do they think predominantly, because we all have a predominant thought system, do they think predominantly auditorily, visually, or kinesthetically? Because we use all the systems, AVK, auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, yet we buy in one predominant system. So it's obvious, if you don't know what someone's predominant buying system is, you could simply be off the mark. That's why many times you might have the best product or the best service, yet they're still not buying. What are your prospects and clients' unconscious drivers? What are their unconscious hot buttons? What gets them to act, yet they don't even know that they're being prompted to act? Well, we all have unconscious drivers, and you've got to know that about your prospect and client. Next, what is your prospect and client's convincer strategy? We all have to go through a strategy in our mind to be convinced to do something. It doesn't matter if it's buying a product or service or eating out. We all go through a series of mental steps in our mind to make a decision. When you know what your prospects and clients' convincer strategy is, meaning what steps they go through to make a decision, it's very easy. It's like a maze. It's very easy to lead them through that maze to get them to say yes. How do they make their decisions? Again, are they making their decisions auditorily, visually, or kinesthetically? Or what mental blueprints are they using, which I'll cover in just a moment? How they want to build rapport. Notice I didn't say how you build rapport, but how they want to build rapport. People easily and very, very quickly build rapport in their predominant systems, whether they be auditory, visual, or kinesthetic, because each of the three systems also has very specific characteristics to it. What do they need to see, do, or hear to be convinced to buy? What unconsciously engages them? What things do they see that automatically pull them in? How they size you up in seconds. The analytical mind thinks actually in 7 bits it can process 7 bits of information a second, whereas the unconscious mind can process 1,000,000 bits of information a second. So the unconscious mind is constantly working to put together a profile on you, your product, and your service, regardless of your features and benefits. What language leads them? What is their own brain language? What words are familiar to their own vernacular? When you know that, you can actually plant that back and give them that back, and it pulls them right along. Finally, what mental blueprints do your prospects and clients go through to make a decision? Very quickly, are they predominantly internally or externally referenced? Are they a general thinker? Are they a specific thinker? Are they a random thinker? Are they a procedural thinker? Do they sort by similarity or dissimilarity? Folks, every bit of this is about how your prospects and clients think. Because again, when you know how they think, you can then influence what they think. And the great thing is, all of this is very easy to learn. So speaking of learning, also what associations captivate them? So speaking of learning, again, I'm Jim Fortin, MindAuthorityNetwork.com, and I have assembled, me and my team, a world-class educational website to teach you all of this and more. As a matter of fact, our goal is 2 things: to help you perform at significantly higher levels and to help you significantly increase your closing ratio. Stay with me because I've got something for you here at the end of this video you're going to want. Okay, now when I say increase your closing ratio, I've seen students increase their closing ratio 10%, 20%, 30%, and some even up to 40 or 50%. I'm going to tell you humbly and candidly, if you can't take what I'm going to share with you and increase your closing ratio by at least 10%, get out of sales, because you do not belong in sales. So on the Mind Authority Network, when you become a member, you're going to find hours and hours of videos with persuasion and influence instruction. The great thing is it's all broken down into bite-sized bits, so you can hop on the site, get what you need in a few minutes, hop back off, and start applying it right away. I also have 7 international experts. Shama Kabani, international social media expert. I've got Drew Canoli, people call him the next Jack LaLanne. We're also talking about mind and body fitness here. Ron White, 2009-2010 National Memory Champ, is posting videos, and Howard Berg, the world's fastest reader. Now, I want to be candid. 95% of the content on the website is my content, persuasion, influence, and peak performance, yet I do have my 7 experts posting one video every 2 weeks. Also, learning tracks where I walk you through the material. I take you hand by hand, I grab your hand, and I walk you through the material so that you can actually learn it, understand it, and then take it out and apply it right away. Forums where we can interact. You can interact with other members because it is called the Mind Authority Network. So forums where you can actually interact with me or other members. Weekly group calls with me where I will actually help you take the information and apply it to any life situation that you're dealing with. You got a hard client, I can tell you exactly how to close them on those calls. Interviews. I actually have motivational interviews. When we started the site, the first interview was with Rudy Rudiger. You might have seen the movie Rudy. Basically, in these interviews, I help you understand the mindset of peak performing individuals so you can take out their best practices and apply it to your own life. And I'm not a big fan of marketing hyperbole, as you're going to find when you're on the website. I'm all about real content that you can take out right away, rubber meets the road content. But I can say candidly, and I know this because I've scoured the internet, there is nothing like this website anywhere. And actually, I don't want you to take my word for it because I have an offer for you in just a moment for a 7-day free trial. So where do you find all this? MindAuthorityNetwork.com. Next page here. Visit the MindAuthorityNetwork.com, and there's actually a page there, but this is what I've got for you. Go to MindAuthorityNetwork.com/free trial. When you do that, fill in your information there, and actually you'll be taken to a 7-day limited free trial where you'll have access to, I believe, something like probably, I haven't counted them, like 30 videos where you can actually start digging into the material right away where you can prove to yourself. Because, see, I'm not asking you to be convinced of anything. I'm asking you, go check into the free trial, register, dig into the material, and apply it. And if you're like most selling professionals, it's going to be obvious very, very quickly that this information can help you significantly increase your closing ratio. So a thought that I just started is I'm not asking you to be convinced of anything at this point, other than I'm asking you to go, get registered for the free trial, and convince yourself that there is a new way to sell, there's a more effective way, a more powerful way to sell, and a very easy way for you to take your clients from no to yes by now understanding how they think so that you can influence what they think. Okay, this is Jim Fortin, MindAuthority.com. Thanks for watching the video. Now, right away, click off from this and go over to MindAuthorityNetwork.com/free trial, and I'll catch you over on the Mind Authority Network site. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.